All right, Minty, this has been an interesting and exciting first half of football here in week 2. We've got a lot going on, a lot to cover. We thank everybody out there for hanging out with us here at Yahoo Sportsbook Live. Let's not waste any more time, Minty. Let's not waste any of the viewers' time, especially. Let's talk this Texans-Browns game, which obviously Browns were heavy favorites coming in. It's tied 14-14 at the half. The current line is Cleveland minus 6.5. And I want you to tell me why I should not be freaking out for taking the coward's choice and picking the Browns in my survivor pool this week.
No, don't freak out. The Browns are obviously the better team here, but the Texans are showcasing that all the experienced players on their roster can still come to life. They still have juice in them. So I tweeted that I was eyeing the Browns in-game betting opportunity because I was not laying 12, 13, 14 points for them to win this or for them to cover. So, I mean, they're an efficient team. I wanted to get the Browns at like less than 6 points, and I got it. I live bet them when the Texans were up 14-7, and the Browns I got -3 for -120. So I think they can cover that comfortably here. They'll come back.
Yeah, I love that you got the live bet there. That's so much smarter than going with the -13. Like, huge. I mean, that's giant spread. And I think at this point, too, we have to consider that, like, we might owe the Texans a bit of an apology. I mean, I'm saying like the royal we. I'm including myself in this as one of the biggest culprits. We bagged on the Texans all off season. Like, basically called them an expansion level team. A joke of a roster. Well, the joke is on us, and I should know better. Personally, I'm speaking just to me here. I should know better than to doubt the pride of Virginia Tech University with Tyrod Taylor there, my guy. I mean, he's not a total joke of a quarterback, right? Like, he is a steady guy that can keep them in games like this. I'm with you. I think the Browns still win this game, overall. Love to see Baker Mayfield come back after injuring his shoulder, rush in a touchdown. But, yeah, I think we might have been maybe a little too hard on the Texans.
Yeah, I even said myself, I consider Tyrod Taylor just a backup quarterback, and I wasn't giving him enough credit too, so apologies. I mean, I didn't place a bet that they were going to have the least amount of wins this season, so I think that counts for something, right?
And that counts for something. That counts for some modicum of respect there that you've given them. Well, I think for the second half, obviously, just got to make sure Baker Mayfield stays healthy, stays in the game, everything like that. But, yeah, I do love that you got Browns -3.5 there. I think they can start to pull away from this game. There's one weakness the Texans still have. I think it is still their defense overall. The offense might have given them not enough respect overall, but I do think the defense is still a problematic area. Let's move on to another game here. Bears up 7-0 over the Bengals. I know we talked about the Bengals quite a bit on FFL this morning, or I know you had said you were monitoring the Bengals, everything like that. Right now, the current line is -4.5 in favor of the Bears there. Andy Dalton, we actually do not know his status for the second half yet. At least I haven't seen it. If there's been an update, he was he got injured, then left, and then came back, and then he went back to the locker room again. So let's talk about this game. We might see Justin Fields a little bit in the second half too. How does that kind of change your thinking with the Bears and the Bengals and everything like that?
Yeah, that changes a lot. Okay, first of all, Andy Dalton just can't catch a break. And, man, I really would love to just bet on the Bengals at +4.5 at even 5 would be great. But Justin Fields really changes things. Like, I don't know if I would touch this game, honestly, because we have to see how he performs in a regular season game. But if I had to, I would probably go with the Bengals +4.5. I think that number is just right. They love to play close games, and Joe Burrow is a covering machine. So I would side with the Bengals, and it's all biased.
I totally understand that, too. I mean, we just still don't, like, the Justin Fields thing is still an unknown. I have been a little surprised that the Bears defense has held back the Bengals offense, which looked great in week 1. They haven't looked quite as explosive today, and I think the Bears still have a lot of questions in terms of their secondary. They had a lot of explosive plays to Matthew Stafford and the Rams, but maybe that was a little bit more about Matthew Stafford and the Rams than it was about the Bears defense overall. That offense still looks great. Let's talk about a huge line movement that we have in the Panthers-Saints game. Minty, people are who they are, right? People are who we don't change that much. And despite the fact that Jameis Winston was like the most efficient quarterback in week 1, 5 touchdowns, very few pass attempts, very low yardage. He's still Jameis Winston. You know, he still threw a pretty ugly interception there. But big movement in this line overall. The current line is the Panthers -10.5. It was Saints -3 pregame, but I think the Panthers are a team that we might need to show a little bit more respect to going forward.
Yes, this is true. I'm so upset because this is my best bet. I was blindsided. This was my game of the week. I fell into the trap and I didn't realize it was a trap game this whole time. All the money, all the bets were on the Saints and the line didn't move at all. And now the Panthers are showing who they can be. And I didn't have high expectations for Sam Darnold, and I didn't think he could do what he's doing. I didn't think the Saints could be this bad and be shut out in the first half. So, man, Carolina -10.5. I'm staying away from this game because I count this as a loss. I already won money, and I'm not hedging.
Yeah. I totally get it, right? Like, it is what it is. No need to count it twice here for you, Minty. So, yeah, I do think that this was kind of a trap game, right? Because the Saints looked great overall against the Packers. Maybe that said more about the Packers being, you know, a little slow to the start of the season here. But, I mean, the Saints still, it is worth noting, too, you know, this is one of those situations where, like, at the beginning of today, it was obvious that the defensive lineup was very banged up for the Saints. You know, Gardner Johnson, Marcus Lattimore, those guys are out in this spot. So, you know, you couldn't have known that. That's one thing there. But also, like, this Panthers team, especially their defense, has stepped it up a notch from last year. This is one of those things where we need to start kind of like changing our expectations for this defense. This was a defense last year that, put everybody. You had fantasy players going against Panthers, start them all. But this defense has taken a step forward. Brian Burns, Derek Brown, those guys on the front line there, rushing the passer, they have definitely stepped it up. One update here on something we just talked about. It looks like rookie quarterback Davis Mills is stepping in for an injured Tyrod Taylor. So maybe that is a little bit more confidence to your Browns -3.5 pick there. Davis Mills, I don't know about that. You know, he's a Stanford Cardinal. Obviously, he's a rookie third-round pick this year. I remember Daniel Jeremiah kind of saying, like, this was the signal that the end of the Deshaun Watson era has truly arrived. But, I mean, we just talked about Tyrod Taylor, like, being a solid, veteran, competent quarterback. I don't know that we're getting there with Davis Mills just yet as a rookie here. He was, yeah. I don't know about all that. So, yeah, no, I think that is one situation to watch. Let's talk. We talked to the Rams earlier and how great they looked against the Bears defense in Week 1. The Rams are up Rams touchdown up in the third, 17-6 on the road. By the way, unbelievable Sean McVay stat. He is 38-0. Straight up when leading at the half. That includes playoffs. The live odds now are -10.5 for the Rams. Darrell Henderson just punched in a touchdown for all of you fantasy managers out there as well.
I had the Colts +4 pregame, and I would still take the Colts +10.5 here. I know Sean McVay straight up, whatever, 38-0. Love it. And also another nugget here from my friend James. Sean McVay is 8-1 against the spread in weeks 1 and 2 of the NFL. So this kind of goes against my pick. I still am loving the Colts. This was my trap game of the week. I think the Colts can come back here. Hopefully no more turnovers, Carson. But yeah, +10.5. I think that's great.
Oh my God. Yeah, 10.5 is pretty good. I think that's solid. Like, I don't know that the Rams are going to pull away that hard here, but I mean, I got to tell you what, Minty, it's tough to trust Carson Wentz in a situation where he's got to come from behind against this defense with Jalen Ramsey and Aaron Donald and all that. And oh, by the way, too, like, the whole thesis behind the Carson Wentz revival in Indianapolis was that he was going to receive pristine protection by this offensive line, and obviously him and Frank Reich are like best friends or whatever. But that pristine protection, that ain't been there so far. Like, this offensive line, it'll get better as guys get healthier, but I think it could at least show up in the second half here that this is still a potentially problematic area. And as you mentioned, when the sacks and the pressures come, so do the mistakes for Carson Wentz.
Absolutely. And you know what? Yeah, it's true. Carson Wentz had his best years with Frank Reich as his offensive coordinator in Philly, so I did have some hope here. I mean, there's a whole nother half of football left, so I think 10.5 is a steal if you want to, take the points with the Colts here.
Yep, totally makes sense. All right, let's move to this game, Raiders at Steelers. Update from this one, TJ Watt is out today with a groin injury. There's a lot of injuries on that Steelers defense right now. We've got Joe Hayden banged up. I think Devin Bush banged up as well. Tyson Alu as well. I mean, this is like boom, boom, boom. That is the strength of this Steelers team. They have to be that type of unit there. It has not gone well so far. The current line is Pittsburgh -1.5. How are you feeling about this one? 9-7 at the half right now, score-wise.
Pre-game, I really was leaning the under, and I totally forgot what it was, but I knew the Steelers are great at unders. But this is a slow-moving game. It was going as I thought. I think the best value here was to have taken the Raiders plus the points at +5.5 or 6. I don't think we're going to see that in game or obviously at halftime right now. I don't think Pittsburgh -1.5 actually does sound pretty good. But I think the Raiders can win straight up here, so I would rather take the Raiders plus the points. If it ever gets up that high, 5 or 6 points, then I would snatch it. Big Ben looked a little rough. He's thrown a pick already, so, like you said earlier, their defense is like the core of this team. This is what the Steelers are known for, so I don't really see good things coming this next half for them.
The total in this game was 46.5. Pre-game. So yeah, I think you're in pretty good shape there, Minty, if you wanted to take the under. By the way, also Alex Leatherwood, offensive lineman, rookie first-round pick for the Las Vegas Raiders. He is out with this game. More injury news. Tyrod Taylor out for the rest of the game. So we're getting Davis Mills playing quarterback for the Texans. We will see how that affects the line at the books for the Texans-Browns game overall. Hopefully, again, for my survivor pick, we get Davis Mills the rest of this game, not looking as good as Tyrod Taylor did there. And again, it is all about me, so that is fair. Let's move on to the pretty boring game here. I've got up on my screen right now. Boring in terms of the competitiveness of it. Buffalo Bills 14-0. Over the Miami Dolphins. Obviously, the news from this one was a bruised rib situation for Tua. Carted off earlier, carted from the sideline, does not look good there. He's supposedly in a lot of pain. I'm actually kind of surprised the Bills, who got up to a lead pretty quickly, haven't pulled away farther in this one. The opening was the -3.5 for the Bills at the Dolphins in this one.
Yeah, so I too am surprised they haven't pulled away farther and shown no mercy and just completely obliterated the Dolphins. I feel bad for Tua. I don't know how long it takes to recover from a bruised rib, if that is officially the ruling for his out. I had Dolphins +3.5 because I thought they could keep it close and win straight up at home here, but it's not looking good. This one is also a loss for me, and I know it's only the half, and Jacoby Brissett could still show up for the Dolphins, but man, the Bills defense is really, hey, I'm trying to be a little hopeful here, Matt, but this Bills defense is really showing up, and it's just not looking good.
Yeah, not looking great, but the current line, this game's not all the way at half yet. We still got 11 seconds left here. 4th and 3 right now for the Buffalo Bills. They're showing some highlights of Sean McDermott as a wrestler, so that lets you know how this game is going. Current line, though, is Buffalo -14.5. So if you think old Jacoby Brissett could make this a little more competitive in the second half, maybe you look at that -14.5 there. Another game, AFC East, that's in the half right now. One more injury note, actually. Browns believe wide receiver Jarvis Landry has a sprained MCL. He's out for the rest of this game, so that takes a lot of. I mean, just whole game. A lot of injuries. Not great. Week has just been a mess. Actually, let's hit this question here. We wanted to talk about these two rookie quarterbacks coming up before this game. Mac Jones passing yardage total 244.5. Zach Wilson passing yardage total 226.5. Minty, have you seen Zach Wilson's stat line for today? The current line, by the way, is New England -9.5.
all I have seen is that he's turned over the ball twice. So that kind of says it there. I haven't watched this full game here, but I'm leaning Mac over. Ooh,
yeah,
at
I mean,
he's almost there.
You said he had turned the ball over twice. You're giving him a little too much credit, actually. Zach Wilson currently 4 of 9 for 54 yards, 0 touchdowns, but 3 interceptions. So yeah, things are not going well. By the way, the NFL record for interceptions in a season is 42. So Zach Wilson is not looking so good there right now. Look, there's going to be days like this for the Jets offense. I wouldn't freak out too much about it. Obviously, it doesn't say that much about Wilson's
Hold on,
future.
Matt. You're telling me, sorry, Jameis did not break the record for interceptions that one year? Like, wasn't he 30 for 30?
No, he did not. I think he just did. I think he had done what no one else had done before and thrown 30 touchdowns and 30 interceptions. I think that was a first, but that that was not in and of itself a record. I don't know who broke the record for 42 interceptions, but could you imagine 42 interceptions? That's unbelievable. By the way, we've got more games in a season now than ever before. So, by the way, Mac Jones, 18 of 22, 142 yards so far. So, they're getting James White in the mix a lot there for the Patriots backfield. But we're about 15 minutes, about halfway through the show right now. Minty, do you want to kind of transition to talking about some of these later games, or are there any other games that are on right now in the half that you've got for that you've got like your eye on right now?
You know, let's move on to the later games. I really love this afternoon slate, and
Me too.
I'm torn about all of them. I mean, we have the Cowboys, Chargers, Vikings, Cardinals, and Titans, Seahawks. Is there one more? Am I missing one, or is that it? That's it, I think.
Falcons, Bucks. I could understand why you'd want to forget about that, because I think the Falcons are probably going to want to forget about that by the end of the day. Bucks are favored by 12. So tough scene there. Yeah, I don't know that we need to hit on this one too much. Like, I mean, that's a big spread for the Bucks there, minus 12. But I don't know. I mean, based on what we saw in Week 1, this Bucks team is going to be electric, and the Falcons are not looking so hot right now. The one thing they were supposed to be able to do is score points. They couldn't do anything against the Eagles. So that game feels like a stay away for me. Maybe throw some player props around there, but I don't know that I would touch minus 12 overall.
You know, I'm not betting this one. It is a toss-up here. I mean, not a toss-up, but it's kind of written in the stars here what's going to happen. But, I mean, the Falcons were supposed to be, like you said, put some points on the board because of their new offensive coordinator is an offensive genius or whatever. And I would think about, the Falcons plus 12 here. I mean, after we saw last week, Tom Brady didn't cover. He should have just lost straight up, in my opinion, because I had the Bucks. But I don't know. This is, I guess, and they have had extra rest. I don't know. I would lean Falcons here just because I don't like these double-digit favorites. But is there
any value on the Falcons money line at plus 500? I mean, I don't know. You got the fortitude to do that? I don't. I'll tell you that.
If you want to donate your money to BetMGM, of course, they accept donations all the time.
They will take it. They will take it.
Yeah.
They will take the money.
Gladly.
They will take the donation. How charitable of you. But yeah, no, I think Minty and I are both in agreement there. We're in unison on this one. No, thank you. No, thank you overall. Let's talk Seahawks Titans, because I know you actually you took the under on Derrick Henry's yardage total on FFL this morning. And I understand, right? Like the Titans have so many questions. The yardage line prop for Derrick Henry, 86.5. You took the under on that one. Kind of explain your reasoning there, and especially because, listen, the reasoning might just be that the Titans offense was really bad in Week 1.
Yes, not only was it really bad, and I don't want to overreact to Week 1 because as we saw, some teams were great Week 1 and awful now and vice versa, but it's because the Seahawks had the 4th best run defense last season, and they know that they have to stop the run. I mean, their biggest weapon is Derrick Henry. However, I don't want to bet this game because the Seahawks are 6.5-point favorites here, and they have to win by a touchdown. They're not good at covering large spreads. They're 3-10 against the spread their last 13 games as home favorites of 6 or more points. I don't feel confident in the Seahawks, but I do not want to bet against Russell Wilson. I think the Titans can keep it close, though, but I would look for an in-game opportunity here or a halftime opportunity.
totally understand that you might want to look for an in-game opportunity. You might find more value with that, but I kind of like the Seahawks. I was tempted to just take them straight up again in my survivor pools, everything like that. -6.5 looks good to me for Seattle, and it's not so much a bias about the results from week 1. For me, it was the process that those two teams took to get to, like the Seahawks took in their game and the Titans took in their game. Number one, Taylor Lewan publicly thanking Chandler Jones for whooping him in week 1. Yikes. And Chandler Jones did take it to the Titans in week 1. And I think your point about the Seahawks, as a run defense and overall their front seven looked really, really good against the Colts in week 1. I think they could harass Ryan Tannehill on that side. And to put a real pin on it, the biggest concern, besides their defense, which what's the point of being concerned about something you knew was going to be bad in Tennessee? You knew that defense was not going to turn it around. You knew that was going to be a problem. It's going to be a problem against Russ today, no doubt about it. But the biggest problem offensively, we talked about Arthur Smith, the offensive genius, going to Atlanta, brought in Todd Downing, elevated him as their offensive coordinator, who did not have a good stint with the Raiders in his first shot there. And in week 1, Tennessee used play action on just 11.6% of Ryan Tannehill's dropbacks. That was the second lowest of all quarterbacks in week 1. And it's downright alarming when you consider that he was top 8 in 2019 and led all quarterbacks in play action rate at 36% in 2020. That was the basis of their offense, and they just totally took it away. Meanwhile, Seattle's play action rate almost doubled from last year to this year. I think one offensive coordinator doing some smart things here, new offensive coordinator there. The other one, maybe in Tennessee, not so much. That also makes me nervous overall.
Someone here is hammering the Seahawks -6.5. It's not me. It sounds like you here. This is your lock of the night.
I mean, I don't know if I'm saying lock of the night or anything, but I do think it's a pretty spicy one overall. I really feel like the Seahawks are going in the right direction, and I think the Titans will figure it out. I think they'll be fine. Whatever. Yeah. But still. Yeah. Right now, I think one team is going in a good direction, one team is not. And mostly, again, it's because of the process they took to get there. Let's hit on some of the primetime games in the last 8 minutes or so. We got just one update, though, on the earlier games. Browns are up 21-14. Feeling pretty good about that one there. Things are starting to trend in the direction that we expected now that Mr. Davis Mills is back there and not the pride of Virginia Tech, Tyrod Taylor. So let's talk some of these later games. Sunday Night Football, Chiefs and Ravens. We've got the Chiefs -3.5 in Baltimore. So I understand the Chiefs are on the road, but I don't know, Minty. That Chiefs -3.5 is looking kind of tempting to me because the Ravens did not impress me in week 1. I think they should have pulled away from the Raiders in that game. And also, we know they're dealing with a laundry list of injuries in the backfield, on their offensive line, and in the defensive secondary. How are the Ravens supposed to hang here with a team that has perennial, the last 3 times they've met, Chiefs have won all those games?
You know what, Matt? I gave this one out on best bets for FFL, a Chiefs -3.5. I'm going to stick by it because Patrick Mahomes is phenomenal in September. Also, it just makes sense, like you said, the long laundry list of injuries that Baltimore has, and Lamar, I don't think, has beaten Patrick Mahomes yet in this era. But man, it is so fishy. I think this one could be another trap game because all that money, all the tickets are just on the Chiefs, but the line hasn't moved at all. Does Vegas know something and I don't? Does Vegas know something and isn't telling us? It's so weird, but I have to stick to my guns. Yeah. I'm on the Chiefs here. It just looks too good not to take. And, sometimes the public isn't always wrong.
Yeah, I mean, again, it does just look... The Chiefs are just a much better team right now. I mean, with all of the offensive line injuries there, I don't understand how the Ravens are supposed to, they're supposed to be a run-first team, control the script. How are you going to control the script with that offensive line? I don't see that happening at all. Let's hit on some player props and some daily fantasy guys that I really like, too. Worth noting as well that the Ravens are on a short week. Not much rest after a tough loss on Monday night. Yikes, tough scene there. One guy I want to highlight here, one player prop, Clyde EdwardsHelaire Total yards, 73.5. I like the over on this one, Minty, because if I expect the Chiefs to control the game, to control the script, I think they could be in a run-first situation. And, oh, by the way, he was also out there, Clyde EdwardsHelaire. Like, we saw him last year splitting time with guys like Darrell Williams and obviously Lev Bell when he was there. That was not really the case in week 1. He was out there for a ton of snaps, over 80%. Obviously, the final stat line wasn't great, but I think he can go over this total yard figure here. He's only $18 in Yahoo DFS single game contest for Sunday Night Football. I think he's a really good candidate here to go over this line.
I love it. I cannot argue with that. And 73.5 total yards? Oh, yeah. I think that's easy to do. I mean, against this Baltimore defense that just completely just let go against the Raiders. Yeah, no. And coming off that short week, it's tough.
We know that the Ravens will always be a really good run defense, but I do think that like getting some passes out of the backfield, everything like that, that could be a pretty good situation for Clyde EdwardsHelaire. Another one I like, Mark Andrews, total just catches here, 4.5 catches. The over was plus 120, which I found surprising. I guess maybe the books here are a little pissed at Mark Andrews playing another poor game against the Raiders when he should have delivered here in week 1. But nevertheless, he is the guy. If Mark Andrews can play up to his potential, he can clearly get over 4.5 catches. He's $20 in Yahoo DFS. That's a $10 gap between Travis Kelce and Mark Andrews, which, I mean, I get it. One is Travis Kelce playing with Patrick Mahomes. The other is Mark Andrews. But Hollywood Brown banged up coming into this game. He's kind of a will he, won't he. You know, he got a limited practice in on Friday. Like, Andrews and Sammy Watkins should be where the football goes through the air for Baltimore here. The fact that you get plus odds on Andrews over 4.5 catches, I think he could get 5, 6, something like that in this game.
I really hope he does, but as we know, Lamar just likes to take care of business himself. I get why it's plus money, but 4.5 just really seems pretty low. So I'm with you, Matt.
It's the fact that it's low and you get the plus odds why I really liked it. And lastly, Patrick Mahomes, 317.5 passing yards. Give me the over on this one, everybody. Like, Mahomes has averaged over 370 passing yards the last 3 times that he's met with the Ravens. And obviously, he is still QB Jesus. Like, he is still everything that we want. But the Ravens are not everything that they have been the last few years. So this might be the weakest Patrick Mahomes has ever gotten the Ravens defense, and averaging more yards than this overall. So yeah, let me hit the over hard on this one. Let me go, give me the Chiefs with minus 3.5 and the over on this one, and I feel extremely confident right there that those things are coming to fruition.
Love it. I mean, I think Patrick could easily hit the 350, maybe almost to 400 today. I don't get how he'll fare pretty well against this Baltimore defense. So, yeah, I like that one a lot, actually.
A little update from the games going on right now before we hit Monday Night Football. The Raiders have just punched in a touchdown. Looks like Derek Carr's actually a little banged up, though, on the ground right now. But threw a really nice touchdown pass to I think, their second tight end. His name is escaping me right now because I'm a chump. But nevertheless, 15-7, the Raiders over the Steelers. It'll come to me. Derek Carr did walk off the field on his own power, so that's good. Let's hit Monday Night Football here. We've got, I think this game is really interesting. Lions, Packers. Packers are huge favorites despite laying a big egg in week 1 at minus 11.5. What are your thoughts about this game overall? This is fascinating considering what we saw out of the Packers in week 1, and even the Lions putting up a pretty good fight against the 49ers after going down big early.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think much about the Lions, but I obviously don't think of them as one of the worst teams in the NFL, like the Texans. I don't know. Look, the Packers are 1-7 against the spread versus the Lions their last 8 matchups, and covering large spreads like this against a divisional rival is kind of tricky to do. So I don't want to waste my hard-earned money betting on Detroit, but if I had to, I would bet on Detroit here. I think they can keep it close, but again, division rivals kind of tricky. Yeah, I go with the Lions here, but my best bet is the over. I think it's 48. I'll go 48 because both teams can score, and at least the Lions we know can give up a ton of points, as they gave up the most points last week. 41 points to San Francisco.
Yeah. I was going to say, I feel like the Packers could hit that over all on their own against that Lions defense, which has also lost Jeff Okudah, who was already getting reamed out on the sideline last week. Like, this is not a good situation. I like the Lions, though. I think the biggest stat for the Lions heading into this week is how fast are they going to play. They ran an absurd 84 plays in week 1. A lot of that is because they're having to catch up. Also, they were 17th in terms of pace of play in the first half. Last week they were first in the second half. So, like, who are the Lions? Do they want to play slow or do they want to play fast? Because I think that's the key for picking up on some of these player props here overall, is how the Lions going to respond here. Number one, though, the guy I think you got to lock in, the player prop that I love the most is Aaron Jones, 88.5 total yards, minus 115 for the Green Bay Packers here. Aaron Jones is $31 in Yahoo DFS single game contest. Again, Minty, if we expect the Packers to win and win big here, we obviously like Aaron Jones to be running the ball a lot. Also, the fact that you're getting total yards is juicy as well. We know that the Packers have done some creative things with Aaron Jones overall as a receiving back. And yeah, again, this was a mess of a defense defending Eli Mitchell in week 1. I think Aaron Jones can get off here.
I absolutely love it. Again, the total yards, you're getting good value here. Aaron Jones is Aaron Rodgers' go-to guy, so let's do it. I'm with you on the over. Packers win big, and Aaron Jones hits this over here.
Absolutely. Will be fun to watch the Lions offense respond as well. Definitely got my eye on some of the guys there. But, Minty, that is going to do it for our Week 2 edition of Yahoo Sportsbook Live. I am excited to see everything else, excited to just watch the rest of this game. By the way, big news in favor of that, just last thing here, in favor of that Seahawks minus 6.5. I mentioned Taylor Lewan got whooped last week. Well, he's not going to get whooped this week because he is inactive. Got a little injured during the pregame warm-up, so things are not looking good for Tennessee. But, Minty, thanks for hanging out with me, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. Good luck the rest of the day with all of your bets, your fantasy teams, everything else you've got going on. Go get yourself in some single-game DFS on Yahoo as well. It's a fun way to enjoy the later